Hello everyone, it's Avery from nontosense here, and I am coming at you with another nontosense ADHD Planner tutorial. Today's tour is for our ADHD Notion Template. We're so excited to be sharing this template with you guys. It is our first step towards our digital direction that we're heading or planning to head into and towards. We know that all of our planners are digital downloads for you to use as either a PDF on your OneNote, on your GoodNotes, on your Notability, but a lot of you have also asked for editable versions of this, like an app, for example. And to us, creating this template is a step in that direction. So it was really enlightening for us, extremely inspiring, and we cannot wait to share with you what we have kind of brewing in the background right now, but I won't get too much into it. So without further ado, let's jump into this Notion template tutorial. So first things first, before we actually get into the nitty-gritty of it all, you need to copy your template, your new ADHD nontosense Notion template, into your personal Notion. And this is how you're going to do that. So once you check out with your template via our website, you're going to be given a PDF, and your PDF is going to look like this. So we've put in here a little poster for you guys to use within your Notion if you would like to decorate it, just to keep for yourself. So once you open this, you're going to head over to where it says click here to access your ADHD Notion template, and click on literally the here. Once you do that, you'll be taken to this window. Continue to external site by following the link below. This is a Notion link. It's not a nontosense link. It's not ours. That being said, Notion is a secure website. So you really don't have to worry about following a Notion link. They're very, very safe. As it asks, click on this highlighted area, and it will take you to the Notion template. Kind of having trouble loading right now. That's just because I need to update my Notion. As you can see though, it's not editable. There's no way for me to add or remove or customize the template in any way. And that's because I have yet to duplicate it to my personal Notion. So to do that, you're going to simply click duplicate in the upper right hand corner. If you don't see duplicate there, it's going to be within these three dots. So once you do that, it'll take a minute to copy the data onto your own personal Notion. But when it does, you'll finally have your nontosense ADHD Notion planner ready for you to tackle and edit and do what you wish to it. Don't be afraid to edit everything about this planner to make it suit your needs, like the icons, the headings, make it your own. So let's finally jump into the tutorial. So the Notion Planner is separated into two main sections, the dashboard section as well as the daily page section. Within the dashboard, you'll find a calendar view, your habit tracker, a monthly highlights, a week of view that lists Monday to Sunday, as well as a brain dump area and a lists area. In the daily page section, you have an editable and reusable daily page. Let's deep dive into the dashboard. So the very first thing you'll see is the calendar and the habit tracker. If you're familiar with our business and familiar with our free ADHD planners, this might look familiar to you. We've actually copied our very own Calendar Girl spread. On the left-hand side, we have our calendar spread that also has our monthly highlights below, or our 4 boxes that you can use for whatever you would like. And on the right-hand side, we have our habit tracker. But just to note, if you don't like this default view that we've created, like for example, if you're not a fan of having the week view underneath the habit tracker, that's the beauty of Notion, is the fact that you can customize to your heart's content. If you are thinking about customizing your dashboard and redoing it, you can find under the lists section an example dashboard layouts page where we've put together already a few examples of ways that you can customize your dashboard. Look at those by the end of this video. So the calendar is pretty straightforward, but I'm going to talk about that in just a moment when I touch on the brain drain and the week of view. For now, we can look quickly at the habit tracker. Habit tracker, you can add or remove as much as you would like. Right now we have it set up to show all 31 days, the star representing the 31st day, or just a goal being reached on the 30th day, perhaps. If you would like this to say 31, just simply click and edit. A very common Notion habit tracker is a weekly habit tracker with just 7 days. The pros of having a 7-day habit tracker is once you go to restart, there's a lot less buttons to have to uncheck at the end of each week versus having to uncheck potentially 31 boxes for a full month. So if the idea of unchecking a bunch of boxes at the end of each month is unappealing to you, I would recommend just narrowing this down to a 7-day or weekly view. Unfortunately, that's just one of Notion's few limitations. For the monthly highlights, we have 3 columns here. We've got a checkbox column, a task column, and just a text column. I've got the first example being call doctor, and I've checked it off to represent that I've done that task, that monthly highlight. And I've got a second example that says snack budget, where I've used now the text box to describe that property. Another example could be buy wedding gift, where I can then use both the text box and the checkbox. So now we've covered the basics of the habit tracker and the monthly highlights. Let's jump into the calendar view. So a very important thing to note about the calendar view, the weekly view, and the brain drain is that they are all connected. I have completely automated this for you. So if you're familiar with Notion, you may be familiar with databases. So what I've essentially done is created a database from the brain drain. So what does that mean? When I create a new item, whether it's within my brain drain or within my weekly view or within my calendar view, I'm going to be given options, otherwise known as properties. And depending on how I fill out these properties decides where said item will appear on my dashboard. If you're unfamiliar with Notion or if you don't know anything about databases, you don't have to worry. This is just what's happening on the back end. That's just an explicit description of what's happening here. So to describe this better, I'm actually going to skip ahead to the brain drain. So there are 2 ways that you can add to your brain drain. So by adding directly into these organized toggled lists, or via what I'm calling your master list. So if you click just next to this pink brain, you'll be brought to a full page that lists every single one of your brain dumps. I love having this option, a place where you can see all your brain dumps in all of its glory in one section. I also really love using this method for moving over brain dumps from other programs. For example, when I transitioned from OneNote into Notion, I used this page, a page like this, to bulk move or mass move all of my brain dumps from OneNote. But I also like to add straight from my dashboard for things that are quick brain dumps, right? If I'm already working on my dashboard, I know I need to buy something, or I know I need to make something, or I know of a to-do that I have that needs to be done pronto or right away, I will just add directly into my dashboard. So let's look at these 2 categories of the brain drain. So I've separated them into a right brain and a left brain. And just like the right brain and the left brain, they are categorized to represent those sections of your mind. So within the right brain, this is more of my artistic, intrinsic, feeling side, my artistically motivated brain dumps. My left brain drain contains my more task-oriented, fact-based, logically motivated brain dumps. For example, within my right brain drain, I've got buy, forge, goal, other, and all. Under buy, I would place anything that I need to buy. For example, I have buy new work shoes here. I also use my buy section to input intrinsic rewards for my habit tracker. So once I've completed a goal, let's say I flossed every morning and every night for a full month, I would then go into my buy and purchase something as a reward. Under my forge, I have things that I like to make. I usually use my forge section to input all of my hobbies, and on days where I'm bored and just need something to do and don't have the energy to make any decisions for myself, I'll go to my forge section to remind myself of the things I love to do and the things that I'm good at. Under my goal section, I have things that I would like to do. For example, I have learn to sew, but you could also put in here travel to X place, X destination. Then we have our other section. This to me is the truest form of a brain dump. In this section, I would put anything and everything that potentially doesn't fit into one of these categories. For example, in my own personal Notion, I have a page that says favorite quotes. I'm in Canada, that's why I have a U, by the way, in my favorite. And then within my favorite quotes page, I would literally have a list of all my favorite quotes. Ha-da. And finally, I have my all section. My all section is essentially a copy and paste of my master list. Sometimes I just like to have my master list available on my dashboard, especially when I have items from my brain drain that I'm trying to incorporate in my monthly or weekly planning. That way I don't have to open a new page every time and then go back to my dashboard to then decide where I would like to put it. Instead, I can have the view right here and all I have to do is scroll. Now for the left brain drain, like I said, I've created a task-oriented section here. So that for the first list, we have daily, which represents your daily tasks, things that you just need to do every single day. This is different for me from the habit tracker because these are things I'm trying to build habits of, and my daily tasks are things that I need to remember to do every day. For example, watering plants. Watering plants could also be in my habit tracker. I might use it as a way to remind myself to water certain plants on certain days. For example, I have cactuses that only need to be watered once a week. So I might plan that out for the month. The daily section's a little bit like your habit tracker, it's a little bit like your daily icons, and it's also a little something in between. I just created it as an extra option for you. In the pronto section, I would put items that I need to do right away. So things I'd like to do within a day or a week. In my later section, I put things in that I'd like to do within a week or a month. And my in the long run section, I put things that I want to be done within a month or a year or tentative, 2 years, 10 years, whatever it is. Those timelines are not set in stone, and you can use these sections however you would like. Feel free to rename these. The only thing I would recommend is if you do rename them is to go into the appropriate heading and also rename the tag so that it corresponds. So those are the basics of the brain drain. Now let's look into those properties I had mentioned. Let's use buy new work shoes as an example. Within buy new work shoes, you'll find that there are 6 properties that I've added. You can add your own, remove some, edit this how you'd wish. This is one of my favorite parts of Notion. So the first property is a checkbox. I use this checkbox simply once I've finished a task. So once I've actually purchased my new work shoes, I would then check it off so that it would disappear from the list. That way your brain drains or your brain dumps don't become congested. But let's say I just accidentally checked that off. I did not mean to. It's not gone forever. It remains in your master list. So if you need to correct that, you just go back to your master list, uncheck it. Again, it still stays in your master list. You see, buy new work shoes is the second item. But once I go back to my dashboard, it's back to where it belongs. The second item is our what category, otherwise known as our right brain. If you'd like to just retitle this into right brain, all you have to do is click onto it and type away. Your what section involves your buy, goal, forge, and other. And your when section is your left brain, or your pronto, your later, your in the long run, or your daily sections. Then you have an option to input a date. For example, you'll see buy new work shoes has a date associated with it, because that's something that I've decided I need to do before or on this specific date. This property is actually what connects your brain drain items to your calendar. So as soon as you create an item and you edit the date property to include a date, it will automatically appear on said date within your calendar, which I think is really cool. The brain drain and all of its parts are meant to be your brain, so you don't have to overthink it. Everything's connected and automated, so you don't have to be putting multiple of the exact same item. Alternatively, if I'm just going to skip over to what says calendar only, if I wanted a calendar item to only appear in my calendar and not in my brain drain, if this is an item that it doesn't make sense to have in my brain drain, it's just me simply tasking out my month, then I would check off calendar only. And let me show you what happens when I do that. Now it is no longer within my buy, but it remains within my calendar. If I accidentally click that, all I have to do is go back into my calendar, find the item, and uncheck it. Or I've created a master list for the calendar items as well. So I could go into here and correct that mistake and check or uncheck as I wish. Alternatively, the calendar items page is really good for items that I accidentally check off that don't have a date. For example, learn to sew doesn't have a date, so it's not showing up on the calendar. There's no way that it will be on the calendar because it does not have a date. But let's say I accidentally check off calendar only. So now it's no longer within my brain drain. If I go into my master list, it's no longer in my master list either. But again, it hasn't disappeared. If I go into my calendar items, Notion now thinks it's a calendar item because I've said it is by accident. All I have to do, uncheck, it leaves my calendar items. It goes back into my master list and back into my brain drain dashboard. It might seem like there's a lot going on here, but this is just an in-depth tutorial for you. All you need to know, if something disappears in either your brain drain or your calendar or your weekly view, it will either be found within your calendar items master list or your brain drain master list. That's all you need to know. So let's get back to this. So I skipped over what says DOW. So what that means is day of the week, and that pertains to your weekly view. So if you want items to appear in your weekly view, all you need to have is either a day of the week, a date, or to have calendar only checked off. So let's say you want something to show up in your calendar view and not in your weekly view. I'll use make YouTube video tutorial as an example. If I remove this date, it no longer shows up in my calendar, but will remain in my weekly view. So like I said before, for items to appear in your calendar, they have to have a date. And that's it. I hope that didn't seem like too much. Let me go through a really quick summary. We've got the brain drain, the week view, and the calendar all connected, which means depending on how you edit the properties within each item you add to your Notion, you can have one item appear in your brain drain, your weekly view, and your monthly view. If you want items to appear in just your brain drain, make sure that they don't have a date or a day of the week. If you want items to just appear in your day of the week, make sure it only has a day of the week tag and nothing else. If you want items to just appear in your calendar, first make sure it has a date and check off calendar only. The calendar view and the weekly view are completely connected, so if you have a date, a day of the week, or the calendar checked off, items will appear in both. Your brain drain and your calendar both have master lists. Your brain drain master list houses all of your brain drain items, anything that is tagged with a when or a what, and your calendar master list contains all your calendar items, so anything that has calendar checked off or a date. So now it's time to move on to your list section of your dashboard. So your list section are just extra pages of things. So the first column houses your calendar items or your calendar master list, your weekly page, as well as your daily planner. If you're someone who needs something a little more than just a weekly view in your dashboard, if you're wanting a fully functional and fleshed out weekly page, then the weekly page is for you. Here you have that, like I said, your fully functional, fleshed out planner page for the week. If you use our 8 days a week planner page or the weekly planner pages that are found in our student and teacher planners, then you're going to really like this one. So let's go through what this page has to offer. First, you have your Monday to Sunday. Each box is the exact same size. No small Saturday and Sundays here. Under your headers of your Monday to Sunday, you have a description box. In this description box, you'll put an explanation of your day. You'll see under Tuesday is a work day, Wednesday's a school day, Tuesday's a day off, so is Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday are your weekend. You could also put something like beach day. It's just a descriptor of your day. Next, you have an optionals events section, or an events box. You'll see on Tuesday there's a shift from 9 to 5, and on Wednesday an English essay is due, and science class is cancelled. All you have to do to add this is enter text below your description, double click, and edit the text properties by changing either the color, the background, or both. Under that optional events block, you'll find your most important today tasks, or your top 3 tasks for that day. These are your top priorities, your top 3 priorities. We don't really recommend putting more than 3 to avoid burnout and overscheduling. Below that, you have your weekly cards. These weekly cards are the exact same cards you'll see on your dashboard under your weekly view. These are connected, again, to your dashboard, to your calendar. It's the exact same thing, just copied into this weekly view. That means if you add something into your Monday, for example, it'll automatically update on your dashboard as well as in your calendar. Below your weekly cards, you have a notes section. This is just a brain dump section, something you want to make note of for that specific day. And everything I mentioned also applies to your Saturday and Sunday down here. The last section to call out is the outstanding tasks section. What this section does is houses all the tasks that you didn't complete this week, which means when a task is unchecked, such as tip number 2, tip and make YouTube video tutorial, then it will appear here in your outstanding tasks section. you'll see that calendar item is checked off and not appearing in this section. As soon as I check off an item, you'll see it disappear. If you have other items that you typed out within your planner that aren't a part of your weekly cards, such as something written out in your most important to do today or your notes section, then all you have to do is click the text and edit the properties to highlight it brown. So that's a call out for you to understand that is an item that is outstanding. And that's it. That's everything you need to know about the weekly page. Super straightforward, super easy. One last cosmetic thing I would mention about this planner page is the fact that you see these hidden columns here on the side. This is just a Notion thing. Unfortunately, we don't have any control over this in particular. If it was up to me, I would absolutely remove that and not have the hidden columns showing. One thing I recommend that I showed down here is creating another column space. These are columns. You'll see Mondays next to Tuesday, Tuesdays next to Wednesday. These are all columns. Creating another column space next to your weekly cards and then adjusting to hide those little details that are unnecessary. In this case, for myself, they're just 2, so it's not as bad as seeing the 5 here. So that's up to you. Now let's get back to the rest of the tutorial. If you're someone who doesn't want your weekly view on your dashboard, just click here and delete. And delete. If you're someone who will like their weekly view on their dashboard, you can delete this list here. Or keep both, up to you. The daily planner page I'll touch on once we get into the daily planner pages. The next column houses a reading list, a watch list, a My Fixation Foods list, an archive, and your example dashboard layouts. So I've created for you a standard reading list. In this reading list, I've created 2 views, a bookshelf view, as well as a status view. The status properties house in progress, not started, or completed. Then there's a rating section where you can rate from 1 star to 5 stars each book that you read, and a genre section, which I've already inputted a few genres here, but feel free to add your own as well. I've also created for you a watch list. And in your watch list, it is essentially the same as the reading list, where I've got a bookshelf of movies here, as well as a what do you feel like watching section that's organized by genre. So I have TV, movie, anime, comedy, action, etc. And within each one, I've created certain properties. Again, we have genre. I've included a ton of different genres, but if you have more specific ones, feel free to add. We've got a watched checkmark box that you can see directly on your screen. We've got an in progress checkmark box. This works really well for TV shows. We've got a ratings box where you can rate from 1 star to 5 stars. And we've got an IMDb option, or a link box, where you can include the actual IMDb link. Something a little bit different, a little more interesting, is the My Fixation Foods section. So I use this on my personal Notion. I've created this for myself, and I thought that this could be helpful for others like me who struggle with executive dysfunction and just decision making on some day. You just can't be bothered to think about putting anything into your body or to decide what it is you're going to be putting into your body. To combat that, I created a list for myself of all of my favorite foods to inspire myself in those days where I just cannot be bothered to make a decision. I've given 4 examples of my favorite kind of go-to weird, maybe ADHD foods that are quick and easy for me and that I love to eat. They're my fixation foods. I'm totally hyper fixated on these foods. I'm obsessed with them. I've got an egg and nutty toast, which is essentially a fried or poached egg on peanut butter toast with like spices on top. That might sound weird, but it's delicious. I definitely recommend. Just like any soup, Campbell's soup. I love mushroom soup. Cheesy roll-ups, which is just tortilla with cheese melted in the microwave, or sometimes I'll take white bread and roll that up with cheese in the microwave. It's just fast, it's easy, it's yummy, it makes me feel good. And my ultimate favorite is toasted raisin bread with butter. Very specifically, sun-made raisin bread. My fave. I cannot get enough. But yeah, what you can do is open these up, and I've included images, but you can even include recipes if you would like. It's a very straightforward list. I did not want to overcomplicate this because I just wanted it to be a place, think of it as a second brain dump, but specifically for food. So that might seem a little strange to some people, but I think it's one of those things, if you know, you know. Our next item is our archive, which is just a place for you to put used planner pages, and I've also included a tutorial speed run here, which is a condensed list of essentially everything I'm saying in this video. I also want to mention that if you follow along this tutorial, this larger tutorial, it is covering everything I'm saying here, but in much greater detail. These 2021 planner pages pertain to the daily planner page here. So as I mentioned, there's a second section here on your Notion, which is your daily page section. If you are familiar with our planner pages, this might look familiar. What we've done is essentially rebuilt our Easy Like Sunday morning page. So you see here, we'll have our 4 boxes on the left with the timeline below and the brain dump off to the right, as well as the tasking icons or the daily to-do icons up top next to the date. So these icons represent taking medication or vitamins, drinking water. You can copy and paste this if you'd like to have it show up 3 times, up to you. That's the beauty of having this digital. Some form of hygiene, another form of hygiene, getting dressed. The apples represent putting energy into your body. The broomstick here represents doing a chore, and the heart and the smiley are your free-for-all items. This could be an act of kindness, it could be health, it could be doing a hobby, and the smile could be, again, health, hobby, just maybe smiling that day, doing something nice for another person. It's up to you. I personally really like the way this looks underneath my dashboard, but sometimes I do like having my planner pages separated and organized. And if you're like me in that sense, I have created this separate page where you can organize your planner pages by month. I've already included September, December for you. And within each one, I've put blank planner page spreads. So what do those look like? Let me show you an example. So just like the planner page under your dashboard, you have your 4 boxes, your timeline, your brain dump, your daily to-do tasks, and your date. This example shows one way that you can organize these boxes. Here I've organized them by time. So tasks that take 2 minutes, tasks that take 10 minutes, 30 minutes, or 60 minutes. I find this method to be extremely entertaining for me, and it makes my days just a little less mundane. In my timeline section, I have 6 to 12 here, and then 1 to 7 here, and then we have our brain dump section. One thing I'll mention, you'll see that I've included a keep me blank so you can't duplicate me page. This is what it will look like blank your pages, and all you have to do is expand these boxes. I've done this just so you don't have to go back and delete things every single time off of a page in order for it to be blank again. This way you always have a blank page. I would also recommend creating a blank month section. So now you have 2 ways that you can edit your daily planner within here, by just going with the flow, doing 1 page at a time, or by organizing it by month. You'll notice I've only copied 16 within each month. I do this personally for myself, so I don't feel pressured to use this every single day. If even 16 is too much for you, I would reduce it maybe to 2 or 3 and just duplicate it every time you need it. So we've come to the end of the tour. That's everything. We've touched base on everything that you need to know. The last thing that we're going to look at now is the example dashboard layouts. If I go into lists and enter this page, I have created for you 6 different examples of how you can customize your nontosense ADHD Notion Planner. So the first layout is our default layout that we've called the Here For You, because there are 4 boxes. The second option we have here is our 8 days a week, which includes a full view of your week. The next example is Today Here, Tomorrow the World. So I called it that because it focuses first on your daily, your brain dumps, and then your monthly and weekly. So your today and then your tomorrows. Then we have our Fantastic example. So this focuses on your monthly, weekly, and daily tasks. We have our calendar here on the left, and then we've got our month's highlights and a lot of extra monthly highlights, then your weekly view, and your habit tracker, your brain drain, your lists. And there's the habitat, which is focused on your habit tracker. And finally, we have our I Want It All example. Essentially, this allows you to see everything all at once on one screen. This one's great for large screens, and it's also a holistic view of your dashboard. And that's it. Those are your examples. I'm sure you'll find other ways to customize your planner and make it beautiful and make it you. Thanks so much, guys. You're awesome. Thank you so much for supporting us. As always, we would not be here without you guys. We cannot believe the love and support we get from everyone in this community, from the ADHD and neurodivergent community. Thank you so much to all who have donated. It's truly not expected, but it's always, always appreciated. So thank you. We hope that you found the price to be fair for this template. We're really firm believers that there should not be a mental health tax or an ADHD tax. I know it's really hard to find free or affordable materials that cater to ADHD or neurodivergent individuals online. We tried really hard to fill that gap for you guys. So while pricing this template, that was completely the first priority for us. So we hope that it seems fair. We hope that if you have any concerns about the price, feel free to email us, and we would love to talk about it and hear your opinions. Thanks so much, guys. Again, you're all amazing. Love you lots, and have a great one. Bye.